Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here with you all this evening. So, I'm going to give you all just a couple seconds, minute or so to join us as I usually do. We have a very special guest this evening that we are just so pleased to have. And I'll give her a formal introduction in just a second. In the meantime, for those of you that are joining, be sure and click the StreamYard uh, connection at the top. Be sure and click so we can see who's joining us. I won't be able to see your name if you do not click on the link at the top where it says give StreamYard permission. So please go ahead and click on that and let us know who's here. Say hi. Let us know where you're from. So go ahead and just post hi so we know who's here. I look forward to seeing everybody. See, people are joining us. Just a couple more seconds. And I will give a formal introduction to our very special guest this evening. And she's just waiting so pretty and patiently right there. Thank you.
Hey, Tanya.
Hey, just a couple more seconds. And if you're just joining us, everyone, please be sure and click on the StreamYard link in the top where you see the post. And that will allow us to see your name. It's just giving them permission to show your name so I can address you if you have a comment or a question for our guest this evening. And we want to acknowledge you as well. So please give us your name or give StreamYard access so we can see who you are. Someone saying hello from Topeka. I can't see your name, so make sure you click on StreamYard at the top so I can tell Deanna who it is. And so now let me go ahead and welcome. I'm so excited this evening, everyone, to have our very special guest. She is known as the Mother of Black Music Month, and we're going to talk about that. A broadcast legend in her own right, and producer, a TV host, and the list goes on and on. And with no further ado, I'd like to welcome Miss Dyana Williams to the Fans of Unsung Happy Hour Chat.
Hey,
Yay!
Miss Tanya. Hi, Luther. And hi, all the fans of Unsung.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are so happy to have you. You've been with us the whole time. I think you might have been here longer than me because I've been here a long time, but I think you might have me beat by a year. So,
Just 1 year.
just 1 year. Okay. Well,
Okay,
thank you so much on behalf of our founder, of course, Luther Hammers McCrae, who I'm sure will be popping in here in just a little while.
I was just texting with him.
Okay. So he's really excited to have you, and we have to give you accolades because you have been a supporter of this forum since the beginning, and we truly appreciate that. When we'd hardly had these numbers, we've got about 43,000 now, but we might have had 100 when you joined. So it's grown tremendously, and we just thank you for your support over the years and having access to you. And I've spoken to you via email in the past. So it's so nice to meet you virtually.
Likewise, Tanya. And thank
So
you.
I'm going to,
We're celebrating you and Luther and the main
oh,
of this group because June is Black Music Month.
yes.
Not just for Black people, it is for people who consume our culture and our music, who perpetuate it, who preserve it. And that's what you and Luther have been doing. So,
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Deanna. How sweet. And we just love music. It's from the heart. We truly love music, good music, especially some of our we call old school artists, but the ones that have paved the way for today's artists. And we want to always pay tribute to them. And that's what we do here. So I want to go ahead and get started about you. We want to learn about you. So I like to always start in the beginning because I know we're going to talk about Black Music Month. That's given. But I want to give people a story about you, a background on you, so they know how this came to be and how you started. So can you take us back? Take us.
all the way back, my mother tells me that I was conceived in Philadelphia. That's taking it back. How about that?
Yeah, well, you can't go any further than that.
Okay, I'm taking it all the way back to God with my parents making love. I'm sure to some real good music.
Hey,
Some
I
good
like that.
old soul music. And the result is me. I'm an only child. I was born in Queens,
Oh,
raised in the Bronx and Harlem. I'm a New Yorker, a native New Yorker.
oh, I didn't know that.
I've lived in Philadelphia most of my adult life, and for the last 20 years, I lived in New Orleans as well. It was my second home. However, I am now full time in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, Philadelphia, PA.
All right.
So those are the humble beginnings.
Wonderful. I could tell you have had to say that a lot. You know how to say it all in just a shorter period of time. You summed it all up.
Always.
Very eloquently put.
Thank you.
There's Luther. Luther says, hello, Queen Dyana.
Hey, Luther.
We were waiting for you, Luther. Okay, so so we got that, where you're from, where you are. So tell us about, let's start with the broadcasting. So how that started, how you got into it. Did you know that's something you wanted to do from way back, or where did that come from?
I wanted to be an archaeologist, Tanya. That was my first passion. And my mother enrolled me in a class at the Natural History Museum in New York. I loved archaeology. I love history, and I love learning about people and their origins and how they lived. So that was short-lived, though, because by the time I was 17, I started studying the flute. And I studied with the great legendary jazz musician, Jimmy Heath, at the Jazzmobile program established by Mr. Billy Taylor. So I started playing the flute, but when I tell you I was so bad, I was not talented at all. Not as far as playing an instrument. However, when it came to music, my comprehension, love, and passion like you, Tanya, and Luther, and many of our fans of Unsung, I went to City College in Harlem, and one day somebody invited me to meet them at the radio station. I did not know that we had a radio station, but once I walked into the radio station, it was love at first sight. I took a class, I learned how to run the board, I learned the basics, and from there, that was it. It was
okay.
It was love, full on passion, and I knew at that point that I wanted to be a broadcaster.
Oh, right. I have to tell you, I played the flute too. I just had to say.
I bet you play a whole lot better than I do.
I don't play anymore. That was in high school. I just that's a side note. You made me think of it when you said that. So that's wonderful. So first job in broadcasting?
I worked for the Pacifica station. I sat in for a gentleman named Rob Crocker. Pacifica WBAI was a legendary listener-supported station in New York City. So I started in New York, and then I did a show on my college station, and then I was offered a job in DC. If you saw the movie Talk to Me, did you see that movie, Tanya? The movie
I did not see Talk to Me.
Okay, so some of you may have seen the movie Talk to Me. A gentleman in the film by the name of Rob Nighthawk Corey was the gentleman who offered me a job after hearing my audition tape. So I started at 96.3 WHUR, which is the home of the original Quiet Storm established by Kathy Hughes, my dad.
Yes. Okay. That's a whole nother history lesson in that right there.
What? Kathy Hughes is a whole curriculum by herself.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Okay. So that's where you got started. And so from there, this
WLS in New York, 107.5. Frankie Parker, who was the dean of Black radio, invited me. First, he offered me a job in St. Louis. That didn't work out. Then he offered me a job in Chicago. That also did not come to fruition. But when he called and said, come to New York, that was New York.
You were some major markets, Dyana.
Oh, well, it was my home market. So I was really excited because people who I went to school with were graduating from college, couldn't get jobs. And here I dropped out of college and I was successful getting a job.
You were in the right place and blessed.
So blessed. So blessed.
Yes. Well, we're glad you were, because here we're having this conversation, those beginnings of all of this. So I know, eventually you ended up obviously, and I'm fast forwarding. Is there anything else in between there? Because I know you were in Philly and.
Yeah, no, well, babies. How about, yeah, there was some stuff in between. I think
you want to share, I should say.
Yeah. Okay. I met Kenny Gamble emceeing an OJ's concert at the Carter Barron Amphitheater. And Tanya, have you ever had love at first sight? Have you ever met?
No? Not like you're talking about, I don't think.
Love at first sight. I laid eyes on him, and I just felt my heart flutter. And he was just, he was then, and he still is, all kind of fine. And
I love it.
so yes, there are a few things that happened in between. I
Mhm.
fell in love. We started our family. Our oldest son, Khalif, is he's grown. He has a child of his own. I have a 5-year young grandson, Luke Gamble. So yes,
Oh,
love
nice.
happened in between and the beginning of family. But then I moved to Philadelphia.
Right.
Well, no, before that I did television and I did rock radio. So I was living in DC for a period of
Right.
time, which is where I gave birth to 2 of my children. And I worked in rock radio and I also did television. I did a show called PM Magazine. Some of our viewers may remember it was a magazine formatted show. And I did that for a period of time. And then I moved to Philadelphia full
What
time.
was it called, Deanna? I'm sorry.
PM Magazine.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So, and I was going to get to how you met Kenny, or you covered that for me, and then you had a family, and then you moved. So, how was that? What was that like being married to somebody like Kenny Gamble, and then, and how that whole process, and then you being in kind of in the spotlight yourself as a broadcaster? What was that like in juggling family?
Girl, you already know. It's a question Aretha Franklin asked me some years ago. She called me one day. She said, "What was it like being with Kenny Gamble?" I was like, "Fabulous, fascinating, exciting," because when Gamble and I were together, it was like the height of Philly
Mhm.
International. Teddy had just left Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Gamble was producing Lou Rawls, Billy Paul, Gene Carn, Phyllis
Mm.
Hyman, the OJs, People's Choice. A plethora of artists were on the roster. And I was on the radio here in Philadelphia. So it was
Mhm.
lovely to be on the air at WDAS
Mhm.
105.3 to play my man's music as well. So
Wow, I love how you put that, to play my man's music. That was, yeah, that was a match made in heaven, it sounds like.
yeah, and shout out to my daughter who is looking now, Princess Idea Gamble. We had a third child 7 years after the first one. So, hi, Princess Idea. She is a singer, songwriter,
Oh.
painter, and fabulous jewelry designer. So, yes,
Mm.
our last baby. It was great, and because I have a passion for music, I really,
Hmm.
I just it was height of all this great music. Oh, Patti LaBelle. I left out my girlfriend, Patti LaBelle. Patti was also on our label, and just wonderful to be able to be with these talented individuals, some of whom we have seen on TV One. In fact, last night the rebroadcast of the Billy Paul episode and Blue Magic
Hmm.
as well. So yeah, Kenny Gamble remains to this day, Tanya, one of my closest and dearest, most cherished people. We separated eons ago after the birth of our daughter, but we've remained very close and talked to him this morning. Had a nice
Okay.
conversation about Black Music Month with him this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you for being so transparent. We truly appreciate that about you.
Oh, good girl. I'm blessed that you're asking. I mean, it's
Oh.
an honor. It's an honor. It truly is.
Oh, thank you. It's truly our honor. So throughout that, and let me ask you this. I was going to ask it later, but since you were talking about how everything went on and your great relationship and the wonderful time period, do you have a most memorable experience um, out of all of everything you've done? Is there something that's most memorable to you?
It's difficult to isolate it. And again, I've been in the music business almost
I
45
know.
years, a long time. So I have many, many, many fond memories. One was the first time I went to the White House with Kenny Gamble. We were
Hmm.
there June 7th, 1979. I have video and photographs of that
Oh,
day.
wow. 79, did you say?
79. President Jimmy Carter hosted the very first June Black Music Month event.
I remember reading about that,
On
yes.
the lawn at the White House. And Dexter Wansell led the MFSB orchestra. Billy Eckstein performed
Mm.
along with Chuck Berry, Evelyn Champagne King, Sarah Powell, and Andre Crouch. So it was an auspicious occasion. The guests were members of the music industry, approximately 300 or so people. members of
Mm-hmm.
the Black Music Association, Frankie Crocker, who I just mentioned, the legendary DJ, Robert Gordy, Barry Gordy's brother. I mean, there was just a cavalcade of people who worked in the industry and who were lovers of Black music. So girl, going to the White House. I was loving it.
Yes.
It's a place
And
driven by on school trips, but here I was actually inside and then sitting with the president. That was pretty heavy. But then on another White House moment, I was invited to a private meeting in the Oval Office with Bill Clinton.
President Clinton.
That was also very exciting to go into the Oval Office and have a meeting about Black music with the president. That was fun. I've had so many.
Okay.
I got a Liberty Bell. I augmented the city of Philadelphia's slogan. We're known primarily as the city of brotherly love,
Right.
sisterly affection, and the mayor, Nutter, prior to the current mayor, gave me a proclamation. My mama was there. That was pretty exciting. Just tons and tons of memories.
I know there's a lot.
Yeah, tons.
But that was great what you shared with us, because I want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want to save Black Music Month, because I know we're going to talk a lot about that. And I want to make sure people have an idea of who you are and where you came from first. So let me ask you this. This is a good question for you. Do you have a favorite artist?
You asking me. I do artist development and media coaching. I have been under my company. I'm the CEO of Influence Entertainment. People
Yes.
influenceentertainment.com. And I've been coaching artists for the last 26 years. So that's like asking me, do I have a favorite child? You're not getting that answer out of me.
Okay. I just thought I'd ask just to see what you might say.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
That's okay. It's not. That's a hard question for you because of what you do. So
I've worked with a plethora of artists, from Dyana to Faith Evans is one of my favorite artists. I love her. Just tons and tons. And Charlie Wilson, girl, I got to work with Charlie Wilson. Come on now, Charlie. Charlie Wilson.
I don't think there's too many people you haven't worked with, though, Dyana. Has
But that's why it's difficult, when I start name calling. I don't want to get
yes. So I won't do that to you too much. I just had to ask to see, there was what I should have done is did it by decades. So in the years.
That's a good one. I like that. That might have been better. Yeah.
So, but we won't. We'll say that for another time.
I love Stevie Wonder. I met him when I was 17. Stevie Wonder.
Wow. Yeah. Just the fact that you got to meet him is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like I said, developing friendships with people who I worked with, some I didn't work with, some who were signed to Gamble, like Patti LaBelle. I met Patti LaBelle when I was 19. In fact, let's see if I can show you this picture.
Oh yes, please share. While you're looking.
Okay. Can you see?
A little bit. We can't tell who it is, but
it's me over here.
Okay.
Sarah Dash. This is Andre Perry. This is Nona Hendricks. And there's Patty. And this is Jesse Fax. He was the music director, but this was 1973.
Okay.
I know Patty and Sarah and Nona a long time.
Okay.
And Sarah Dash and I do a weekly call every Sunday night as a group of girlfriends, and we play Family Feud and other games, and we just chat. And I love me some Sarah Dash. So yeah, so a ton of artists. However, Teddy Pendergrass, I can single him out very easily. Was my brother. He was one of my best male friends, and he happened to also be my borrow a cup of sugar neighbor. He lived right around the corner from me.
Okay.
So we were in each other's homes. My children called him. See, it's hard to even talk past tense, and it's been a long time. Called Uncle Teddy. So Teddy Pendergrass, and of course, for the fans of Unsung, I had the pleasure with Mark Rowland, a co-executive episode. So love Teddy Pendergrass, and he was one of the biggest artists on Philadelphia International Records with Gamble and Huff and Tom Bell.
Well, since you mentioned it, I had it down for later, but since you mentioned that, can you that particular episode, congratulations, because I believe it won an NAACP award for
That
that.
season won NAACP Teen
Yes, that,
Award. Yes, I was very proud of that.
yes, and you got to co-produce. So tell us what it was like co-producing an unsung episode on your brother Teddy.
It was exciting, and it was a way for me to grieve more and to share with his family, because as you see in the episode, quite a few of his family members, as well as his widow, who remains
Mm-hmm.
to this day my dear, dear girlfriend, Joan. I call her Joni, Joan Pendergrass, who's done an incredible job keeping her husband's legacy
Legacy.
alive. And as you probably know by now, there will be a biopic produced, directed by Lee Daniels, another one of my Philadelphia beloveds. And Charlie Mack, shout out to Charlie Mack, another great Philadelphian. He got Tyrese to Philadelphia, introduced him to Teddy, and Teddy and Tyrese did like this. In fact, he
Mm-hmm.
was in intensive care, which is where he was the last 9 months of his life at Bryn Mawr Hospital. Tyrese came in multiple times to see Teddy and
Oh,
slept in the room with Teddy.
wow.
I think he is the perfect person. Teddy blessed him. Teddy said, I want Tyrese to portray me. So
Wonderful.
tonight I talked to Charlie Mack about the film, and it's still in progress. But
Okay.
so Mark Rowland essentially is, I call him the father of Unsung. Mark is the executive producer, and he is the visionary behind all of these Unsung episodes since 2008. He's a
Mm-hmm.
good writer, thinker, TV executive, and he is the daddy of Unsung.
Unsung.
In that
Wonderful.
situation, when we collaborated, it was easy to do because Mark has great respect for my knowledge. He knew of my very close relationship with Teddy,
Mm-hmm.
which afforded me the opportunity to pick up the phone and get family members
Yes.
to the table to do the interview. It was great.
And oh, it was a great episode. Do we know, is there any potential of when that will be released? Teddy's by, or
They haven't even started production.
they haven't started production yet? Okay.
Yeah,
I look forward to it whenever it comes out. We all do.
as do I, Tanya. Yeah.
Luther asks, will you be sitting in on the Jones Girls Unsung?
Possibly. Shirley is still a girlfriend. I communicate with her. I've interviewed her. So Luther, I'm waiting for the call. Usually I have to wait for Mark to call me. So maybe you should just poke him, Luther, and say, you better have Dyana in that.
There you go.
The Jones Girls were, they were discovered. They used to be the background singers for Diana Ross.
Yes.
And I'm sure we will see that in the Unsung.
Yes,
So,
I would think we would.
yeah, but of the girls, I was closest with Shirley, who ultimately did a solo project on her own. And she lives in Atlanta. She is where you are. She's
Right.
like I am. So we get on the phone and we're talking about our grandchildren. Okay. You were a young girl, knew me when I was a young girl, but we're nanas now. And I'm a proud nana. I love
Oh, that's so sweet. The grandbabies, the divas. It was, someone is saying, I don't see their name, but it was a pleasure meeting you in Saks and Bala.
Kenwood.
Yes, some years ago. You were so gracious. Somebody said
Ooh,
that.
nice to meet you. Nice.
And Luther's asking, how did you end up loving our forum and what brought you over there, over
I
here?
fell in love with you first, Luther. Luther does, the passion and the commitment for the show, the concept of the music documentary series of Unsung. And Luther immediately, he got it, he overstood. And when he reached out to me, I was like, blessings, yes, embrace everything.
Yes.
Kind of determination that he had to be able to create a forum where we could talk about all of these great artists, their contributions to the soundtrack of our lives, Tanya. And you as
Yes.
well, because how many people are now in our family?
43,000.
43,000 people also share our passion for Black music and TV One and Unsung. And kudos to Alfred Liggins, because TV One was his brainchild, and Unsung, and shout out again to Kathy Hughes, the founder of Urban One. And to the second, my sister. Now I do. Remember, I told you the calls that I do on Sunday night with Sarah,
Yes.
Helen Bruner, Terry Jones, Carol Riddick, LaVal Warren. This is my crew. We go bowling together. We go horseback riding. We do get gatherings together. Well, earlier in the day, I do a Queen's Council Zoom with Aiko Broyard, who's one of the highest ranking women in the advertising world. She's EVP at Walton Isaacson. It's a Black-owned advertising firm. And Kathy Hughes of Urban One, TV One, Interactive One. Every Sunday at noon, I am Zooming with those three ladies, and we talk about everything. We talk about everything, girl. And they do the dozens on me, especially Kathy Hughes with that fast mouth. Always trying to, do the dozens on me.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. I can just imagine how those conversations go.
Fun. Nothing but fun, girl. It's like a party midday.
So let's transition over. I'm not saying any questions. I think everybody's just listening intensively. Let's go ahead and jump right into what the main thing going on this month, of course, is Black Music Month, and you are co-founder in that. So tell me, how did this all start? I remember a few minutes ago you said in '79 you went to something at the White House, but Black Music Month didn't start then. That was right?
Well, actually, it did. That was the official
Did it start
declaration by an American president. Jimmy
Oh, okay.
was the first American president to say June is Black Music Month.
So he was the first.
Yes, but it was the Black Music Association and the brainchild of Kenny Gamble, Ed Wright, and later me. Kenny and I were a couple at the time, and I was very active in the national, obviously, Black Music Association and the local Philadelphia chapter. But many, many years later, when President Clinton was in office, William Jefferson Clinton, I wrote him and asked him to host a similar reception, much like Jimmy Carter had done June 7th, 1979. And the White House said, ooh, you know what? We see in the records, in the archives, that President Carter and Rosalind Carter hosted this event, but he didn't sign a presidential proclamation.
That's what it was.
You want to host something here at the White House? Get us some legislation and then come back. Took me a couple of years, and with a group of people who were very nurturing and supportive, I wrote a billboard, op-ed, a commentary about the need for June Black Music Month. Took a few years, but finally through Senator Arlen Specter, who was the Republican senator from here, and in Philadelphia, and also Congressman Shaka Fatah. Shaka Fatah introduced the legislation on the floor. I wrote the draft. They put whereas Black music,
yes,
all of that, but it passed that day. And since that time, every American president has been hosting events or releasing proclamations declaring June Black Music Month. When President Obama came into the White House during his administration, he changed it to African American Appreciation Month. Gamble and I, we had nothing to do with that change. It is always going to be Black Music Month.
So it's African American appreciation.
African American music appreciation.
Music appreciation. I was gonna say it's music.
Great to say I'll go with Black Music Month. It's interchangeable. I accept them all, but I prefer Black music.
And let me ask this, Dyana, specifically, like when you wrote the legislation, what exactly does the legislation say? What specifics are in there?
I cited that the Black music industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. In addition to us recognizing the majesty and beauty of Black music, we need to recognize that it's an economic engine to the tune, as I just cited, billions and billions and tons of money that have been generated since the beginning of Black people reporting. And so we are one of America's greatest exports to the planet. To the galaxy. Because our music is out in the galaxy, girl. They getting down on Mars. Remember Marvin Gaye with Funky Space Reincarnation? I think that's what it was called on the Here My Dear album. Yeah, we're in space. We're in other galaxies. So That,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted us to hear the specifics of what went into that. I'm glad you shared that. So that's wonderful. So, music is such a universal language. Can we just talk for a minute? There's so much going on in the world right now. Um, I don't have to say it. Everyone knows what's going on. And can we say how music can be so healing? Music is universal. Can you talk on how music um, can relate to that and how we can use music to heal and just the overall concept of that? Because music, everyone loves music. Music can make you feel good, can make you feel bad, make you happy, make you laugh. So can you speak to that as you probably can so eloquently do?
Well, music, as you so eloquently stated, Tanya, is a healing force of the world. It is a universal language. I've been to
Mhm.
Japan, I've been through South America, all throughout the Caribbean. I've been to Africa multiple times, Europe countless times. Everywhere I have traveled on planet Earth, I have heard and experienced the splendor of Black music in all of its incarnations. Because as you know, when you go to the Caribbean, you're hearing all kinds of subgenres of reggae or Caribbean style, whatever you want to call it. When you travel to South America and you hear Brazilian music, it is the base of it is it's coming from Africa. More Black folks were taken to South America than the United States and the Caribbean.
Mm.
So Brazil has a robust Black community, and you hear African music like. In fact, I went to Brazil before I went to Africa, and when I went
Mhm.
to Bahia, which is a very strong Black city community, I was like, I cried. I cried when I heard Brazilian music, and I felt like I was in Africa. And then
Mm.
I went to Africa. The first visit was to Senegal, and then I went to Ghana, and I heard African artists. I heard us, but I also heard American hip hop. I was walking
Mm.
on the beach in Ghana one day, eating the sweetest pineapple, and I've been to Hawaii. The sweetest pineapple that I have. It was like I thought I was consuming straight sugar, but it was
Mm.
pineapple.
I
And
love
I
pineapple.
heard American hip hop music as I was taking my little stroll along the beach. When I landed in Brazil, first music I heard was Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Mm.
The USO tour in Japan some years ago. Philip Bailey, the lead singer of Earth, Wind, and Fire, was the headliner. And we took 50 musicians to Japan. We entertained the troops. It was a USO
Mm.
tour. And
Yes.
we also went to Guam. American music, Black American music. So everywhere around this planet, like you said, it is a healing force. It has been proven scientifically that music can be used to help heal people. And there are therapists. I have a friend, Dr. Perry Johnson, who was a very well-known DJ in Philadelphia many years ago. In fact, he's on that Bohannon record. Uh,
Oh, okay.
Stop, what is it called? And I know we just lost Bohannon not long ago. But Dr. Perry Johnson is on, I'm sure
Okay.
our fans and song know the song. But he became a music therapist and he uses music to help his clients. So yes, music, Black music especially. I have a friend who's growing plants. He has like a tower in his residence.
Mhm.
He plays music for his plants.
For his plants.
Yes, and he's playing tones and all of that, and they're growing like wildfire. I was like, wow. So Black music, it's everything. It's the flavor. It's the flavor in American culture, and I'm not denigrating other genres of music, but those other genres listen very carefully to us, what we were doing, and duplicate it, replicate it, imitate it. I call it the Elvis Presley syndrome because we know
Oh,
the Elvis Presley
okay.
syndrome.
Syndrome. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, Chuck Berry, Bo
Hmm.
Diddley, Little Richard, they are Sister Rosetta Thorpe, because there's a woman in that mix. They are the architects and founders of rock, which of course Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, a plethora of other
Hmm.
white artists have cited Muddy Waters as their influences for their
Hmm.
music.
Wonderful. So, someone may be watching or not, or people in general may ask and wonder, can you give an answer to this question? Why should we celebrate Black Music Month?
We should celebrate Black Music Month because it's America's indigenous music. It is our creation. We should take pride in ancestors who suffered the indignities of being forced immigrants taken from Africa in slave ships, family. People were chained to each other, lying in their own feces and urine. Imagine, imagine the suffering and the indignities of the ill treatment that those people had to endure. But so you're lying there chained up to another person. They don't even speak the same language that you do because they separated people. They didn't want people from the same tribes being able to communicate because we afford a resurrection. Resurrection? No, I can't think of the word, but they did not want people having the opportunity to communicate. And even when Africans were brought to America, the drum is integral to Black music. They were using the drum, and it took the slave owners a minute to say, "Oh, wait, they're communicating," because they were able to communicate using the drum. And then they made the use of the drum illegal. But you know, we're so inventive and creative.
Yes.
People started stomping their feet, banging on things, taking pots and pans, made banjos, created instruments. And white people love to be entertained. So they allowed that. And little by little, then they allowed the reintroduction of the drum. So we've been making music. Our music has elevated us. It has educated us. It is spiritual. I mean, come on, when our great ancestors were in the fields picking cotton, they were singing. They were singing Feel-A-Holla songs. They were again consoling themselves over being whooped, raped, beaten, attacked, threatened, diminished, put down, and of course, we began to experience the horrors of racism. So our music is an articulation of a people who are resilient, but also through our suffering, through our pain, and our joy, we created gospel music, the blues, American classical music, jazz, which is what Nina Simone called it, American classical music. All of it, including rap, hip hop, you name it. We created it, and we're the originators, like Chuck Berry and others, and Little Richard used to say. We are the originators. We are often imitated. And the travesty of that is that we do not get compensated like white folks do. And we are over that. We're tired of being sick and tired. And that's what we see in our streets. Our music as well, protest music, nothing new. Like I said, back in the day when we were first brought over here, they were using music to communicate. Music was also used to protest. And even now, as we heard in the post-civil rights era, Curtis Mayfield, The Impressions, Nina Simone, James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, Nina Simone, Aretha Franklin, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. Move up into later times, Public Enemy, Powers That Be. I mean, you just D'Angelo and the Vanguard, just countless artists, Common, John Legend. We can bring it up to right now, where we are expressing our frustration with brutality, protesting police brutality, and inequality in our school systems, in our housing, in the banking lending process. Name it. Racism permeates almost every strata of our life here in America, designed to keep us down, keep us working, like paycheck to paycheck in some situations.
Yes.
The wealthy, who more often than not are white men and families. And guess what? We want the same opportunities that white people, or white brothers and sisters want. But right now, what we're seeing in the streets, Tanya, is a great deal of frustration on the part of tons of Black folks who are just not having it anymore. I mean, we're being murdered for nothing. A counterfeit $1 bill? No, you just say to the person, I bet if it was a white person, that store owner would have said, excuse me, but this is a counterfeit. Do you have another form of payment? Why call the police? I didn't get to this moment that should be on the conscience of that store owner forever. I mean, I've heard them say that they regret calling the police, but they did, and we cannot take that what happened.
Right.
But George Floyd's life, Breonna Taylor, and the names you're familiar with, and many that you don't and will never know, have suffered the brutality at the hands of racist individuals and just evil people. But we're not
Yes.
doing that anymore. We're fighting back in a way that I don't think we've ever fought back before. I think this is a tipping point in America and for racism. We need to have sober conversations about how we can change this for our children's children.
Yes.
I'm advocating it now, but we have a responsibility to use our voices and our music to protest the insensitivities and the irresponsibility of racist actions.
Oh, that was so nicely put. If you had a mic, you could drop it right now. But did you have a mic? Let me ask some questions. You got a couple of questions coming in. We're going to kind of switch the gear a little bit because we talk about your business a little bit, how you coach artists. There's a question. Dyana coaches artists. Can you elaborate on the downfall of our Black artists that you've witnessed in your career?
Well, the downfall, thank you for that question. The downfall would begin with the lack of education. Many artists are not amply educated about contracts, about deals. Some sign contracts without legal representation, which is horrible. I just worked with somebody recently who said they signed and didn't know what they were signing, and they later learned that they had signed a recording contract.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I say educate yourselves. There's a ton of information on the internet as well as books. There's, I give all of my clients, especially my hip hop clients, there's a book called The Big Payback by Dyana. And it is a great book about the history of the hip hop business. But there are many other books about business, contracts, and things you need to know if you wish to be an artist in the music industry. Develop your following on social media. It is free. That does not cost you anything. But knowledge is power. And the more information you have, the better it's going to be for you. Get a team of people as best as you possibly can that are going to teach you. And when you get a lawyer, have a lawyer break it down to you in plain English. My lawyer is a woman actually in Atlanta, Denise Brown Henderson. And last year I had to do a contract or something. And I would say to her, because it was so much legalese, I was like, Denise, English, basic, me can comprehend English. Because contracts are often designed to take advantage of you.
Yes.
I have a star attorney to help you navigate the language. So educate yourself, practice your craft. If you're a singer, get vocal lessons, sing, rehearse with your group, your band. Really put your foot up in it. If you're in a market, you should know every DJ. You should know all the club DJs. You should know the radio personalities. Make it your business to be entrenched in your local community before you take over the world. So those are just some suggestions that I would make. Yeah. Do you know the journalists? Do you know the club? Do you know the people who book at the clubs? Do you know about the open mics? Have you exploited that before you want to be number one on the Billboard charts without having the foundational basic work that is necessary to be a successful artist?
You answered one of my questions, advice to new artists. You definitely have answered that. So Luther keeps asking about your hair. He's saying, can we talk about your beautiful hair and how much he sees you? And
okay, Luther, let me tell you about this hair. I got it braided up. Can you see? It is. Last night I took a shower and I had like an Angela Davis situation, which is why it's that tight. I braided it. There's no dye up in here. This is God's color. It's gray.
I love it.
But yes, that's what's going on under here. You want me to take it off? I'll scare everybody, including myself. Putting this on.
Well, I had to mention that because Luther, he keeps asking about your hair, so we had to say something about that beautiful. He keeps saying, "What is?" So Luther,
okay. My hairstylist, Brandy Davila, has not seen this hair in 3 months.
Oh, yeah, well,
And she's ready.
Miss Corona. Okay, so I understand.
This Corona got up in the mix.
Yes, I
I
understand.
enjoy being natural. Like my nails, I used to put gel. My nails have gotten stronger, feel healthier. And just like our planet, with the reduction of cars, our carbon
Hmm.
footprint has been.
Yes.
Los Angeles has great air quality right now. And this
Wow, that's
is India, Bombay, places around the planet. So God said, y'all sit down, stop polluting this beautiful place I've given you, because we're polluting, we're messing up our planet. So much
yes.
man's inhumanity to man and man's inhumanity to woman, and the place we live is unconscionable. We live in a paradise that's being destroyed by greed, capitalism, a
Hmm.
few things. And like I said, racism, a tool of capitalism, in my opinion, to keep people working hard for people up top to be real chill and comfortable. I'm
Yes. Someone is saying, looking beautiful. God bless you, Miss Diana. Deanna. I don't know who said it. I don't have the name there, but you can go back and read them afterwards and see
thank
exactly
you. Thank
what.
you. You honor my ancestors, my mama and my daddy, and their mamas and daddies. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, someone's saying, speak. And oh, Luther said Claudine was the ultimate soundtrack. Something we were talking about made him remember Claudine.
Oh, I love that. James Earl Jones, Gladys.
Hmm.
That was such a great movie. Wonderful soundtrack. Curtis Mayfield once again. Curtis Mayfield
Yes.
that.
Yes,
And
Curtis.
I love also The Shaft. Gordon Parks, my dear friend. Oh, here we go. Wait. Show and tell. You see? Oh, there's a light reflecting. Oh, it's hard.
Yeah. There we go. Who is that?
Gordon Parks, girl, directed Shaft.
Oh, oh wow.
And his son did Superfly. This is Gordon Parks, the first Black photographer at Life magazine. He was an author, a poet, a composer, a great pianist, and his images, the images that he documented and left for us, just wonderful. And he was the only person I ever wanted to meet. And this was the day that I met Gordon Parks after years and years of trying to meet him, and then
Hmm.
finally getting an invitation to go to his house on the east side, UN Plaza. Um, and we remained friends to his death. In fact, the day of his memorial, his daughter came over to me and my girlfriend, Teresa Sanders, and said, "My father loved you." And that was it. I didn't
Oh,
need to hear anything else, but I knew that. But to hear it come from his daughter was very significant to me. But
oh
you
yeah.
know, it's interesting. The only people I ever wanted to meet were both photographers. Deborah Willis, who is an
Oh,
extraordinary photographer from Philadelphia and a great educator, and Gordon Parks. So I got a thing for photographers and musicians.
yeah, I think so. Here's a question for you. What do you see as advantages and disadvantages of social media for artists? It seems now we know everything they're thinking, which isn't always good.
I agree with you on that one. But the advantage for artists, particularly independent artists, which some of you may be, is that it evens out the playing field. Back in the day, you needed the distribution of the major record labels to get your product into stores. And now you bypass all of that and just go direct on social media to put your
Hmm.
music up and to develop and cultivate your audience. And then you can go on SoundCloud. We just have all kind of ways for you to be able to reach your audience and share your music, but then also to be compensated. You can use social media, the Apple Music, all the different digital platforms to get your music across. So I think the internet is a good thing, and it could be bad. You're right. Some people overshare.
Hmm.
Sometimes some people don't share a lot. They're very mysterious. But everybody varies, and we're not monolithic as people. So they had to drag me on to social media because I was one of those analog girls living in a digital world.
Hmm.
On here, it afforded me an opportunity to be able to communicate with good people like you, Tanya, and Luther, and the family.
Thank you.
So it
Well,
has,
we're glad.
yes, I am as well.
We're glad you came over to digital. We kind of didn't have a choice, I think, right? If you kind of forced almost.
Well, I know people who are not on social media
Oh, okay.
at all. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, that must be kind of liberating, not checking to see how many people liked that picture or commented or, some people are
Yes,
combative on social media. But this particular person is liberated from social media. They just don't do it. It's amazing.
that is amazing these days.
It is. It is very amazing.
One of the questions: will there always be a place for the radio DJ?
Always. Black folks ain't having it. There'll always be a place, in my opinion, for radio personalities. I'll be one till the day I die, period. I'm radio, I have little antennas. I
In
am
your veins?
yes, I'm the DJ girl. Yes, I think we'll always have the need and desire to hear a local voice and a person that we develop a relationship with. My favorite radio personality coming up, and the woman who inspired me in radio, is Vi Higginson. She's still on the radio in New York, and took me almost 30 years to meet her, to be able to say, thank you. You were the first Black woman I ever heard on the radio in New York. She was on WLIB FM, then they flipped WLIB to WBLS. And that's when I heard the sultry voice and knowledgeable execution and connection to the music that Vi Higginson had. And think about your favorite DJs. You don't want them going away. I love turning on the radio and hearing. I miss Tom Joyner. Tom Joyner was, for me, that guy. And I love the work that he's done with his foundation, with his sons. But Frankie Crocker was also one of my favorite DJs. He's been deceased for a while, but you can go on YouTube. Check out Frankie Crocker. Frankie Crocker was doing rap, but there were other DJs that were doing it before him. So we are the clarion voice. Radio personalities are the clarion voice in Black community. I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. There will always be for our DJs.
Very good. What someone's asking, what do you think of the show American Soul, showcasing Don Cornelius' Soul Train journey?
Love it.
I do too.
Gamble about Don Cornelius this morning and the show, because Gamble was watching last night, as was I. I love the fact that they're keeping it straight, no chaser. Don Cornelius was no joke, girl. I did Soul Train one time with the group, and the group was very unhappy about their performance, and they wanted to do it again. And the director was like, "Oh no, we don't do. This ain't a second tape. We're on a schedule and a deadline." And I went to Don Cornelius and I asked him, could the group do it again? And I believe that his respect for Kenny Gamble permeated that conversation too. And he showed me great regard. He knew about my relationship with Gamble, and my group got to do it again. So
wow, aren't you special?
He was tough. He was tough, and I've talked to other people, but Gamble was like, he was really good people. And as you know, Gamble and Huff did the Soul Train theme with the three and MFSB, TSOP. So Philadelphia has a strong connection to Don Cornelius and Soul Train, which was come on, we ran out of the street back into the house on Saturdays. We didn't have cable. It was none of that. No internet.
That's right.
If you didn't see it then, and there was no VCRs, you missed it, and you didn't want to miss the Soul Train song, the fashions, and the artists that they had on the stage. And Don Cornelius, he was extraordinary.
Yes, that's just wonderful.
Racism he had to deal with.
Yeah. It's a great show. That's one of my favorites right now. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
truly enjoying it. And somebody said, and he was fine. I'm just saying that's what they said.
Ooh, and he was fine too. You trying to get Don Cornelius.
Luther said they are trying to replace Black radio with internet radio, but we're not having it. That's what he's saying.
Well, here we go. If these are outlets, Luther, that allow for independent artists, because that's usually where independent artists get played.
Yes.
The majors get kind of first dab. It's hard to be an independent artist and get airplay on a radio station. That's just factual. So internet radio, I did internet radio years ago, a station called Soul 24/7. based out of London. And I did that
Oh,
for
okay.
years. And actually, I recorded my radio show in the studios of Philadelphia International Records at 309 South Broad Street when the building was still up and active. So, internet radio, terrestrial radio, Sirius XM, all of it cumulative is important, Luther, as long as it gets the music out. My thing is we've got to compensate creators of the music better because what's going on right now isn't fair. Streaming is the way most people get their music now. And when I tell you they pay 0.003 to some, I don't even know what part of, is that like part of a penny? I don't even know what that
Oh
is.
my goodness.
The artists and the songwriters who see their royalty statements. Crazy. That has to be fixed. So I'm on the board of the Recording Academy in Philadelphia. I'm a past president of the Grammy chapter here in Philly. We are working diligently to change these antiquated laws that do not compensate. I mean, come on, there was no internet in the 20th century.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Were made in the 20th century. So we've been successful getting some change, but we're working diligently to get more equity for music creators.
So it's almost 8 o'clock. We did go through that hour. I just want, is there anything else you want to share? I wanted you to talk about your TV show briefly and just tell everybody about that.
Well, I'd rather use these few moments, Tanya. Tanya's referring to, I'm on a show called Chasing News with Bill Spady. It airs on Fox 5 in New York Thursday night, and it airs on My 9 and Day in all of New Jersey. However, I'm also on the board of the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville,
Right.
opening this fall. I would love for you to go to blackmusicmuseum.org to learn more about our movement, for you to consider supporting us by joining. We have memberships that start as low as $25 for seniors, families. I love this museum. I'm the co-chair with LaRon Rogers of the Music Industry Relations Collective with some pretty outstanding dynamic people who, like me, and like you, Tanya, and Luther, are committed, and to our family, fans of Unsung, to the preservation, promotion, and protection of Black culture and music. So please, go to blackmusicmuseum.org.
And I'm going to post that. We'll post that on our page so we can get people to support that as well. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your candid discussion this evening. Thank you for all you do for Black music, for us, for those of us that love to hear the music, love our DJs, for all. You're such a trailblazer in your time, and you're still doing things. I want to act like you're not doing it anymore because you're just as active and more active, even though you're not on live radio anymore. You're doing so many other things with your business, correct?
Absolutely. With Influence Entertainment, we also,
Yes.
in addition to doing celebrity development and media strategies, we produce concerts, we promote talent in Philadelphia, we do a bunch of stuff. And so I'm grateful to you, Tanya, for moderating this discussion today. And I want to take a moment to say to all of the fans of Unsung, continue to support Michelle Rice, who is the general manager of TV One, and Mark Rowland, A. Smith and Company, because they actually produce all of the writers and producers of Unsung, for giving us this award-winning music documentary broadcast on our heroes and sheroes, the people who are the soundtrack to our lives.
Yes.
Celebrate Black music, not just during June, Black Music Month. Read books to your children about music artists. Tell them about your favorite artists. Listen to their favorite artists. When venues open up again, go back and hear live music. Support the artists that you love. Buy their merchandise. Stream, buy their music. There's so many ways that you can engage and support Black music. But keep it up July 1st and moving forward, because every day is Black Music Day.
Oh, I love it. And on that note, we want to toast to you, Miss Dyana. You have your toast to you, our virtual toast. Thank you for joining us, to Miss Dyana Williams, to Black Music Month, to our Unsungeteers. We say cheers.
Cheers. Look.
Yes.
My sheet. Look. Look, my Sheila Bridges glasses. You might not be able to see it, Tanya.
We
Sheila
can't.
Bridges is a Black interior designer. I have her purse. I sleep on her sheet. Put your dollars, reinvest your money back into the Black community. That's another thing
Oh,
to
yes.
say.
We're
Make
going to toast it out.
work. Here we go, Tanya.
Yes.
To you, to
To
Luther,
you.
to all. Raise your glasses.
Yes, Joshua. Oh, everybody's raising them. Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
You have a blessed evening and come back and see us, please, soon.
I would love to, Tanya. Thank you. And you stay blessed. I appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you. Have a great night.
And you do likewise. Peace.